Moldova. You haven't heard anything about it, have you? And if you have, it was probably something like, wait, where is that again? Or maybe, oh, isn't that the country no one visits? But you're not entirely wrong. We'll look into why Moldova currently has the lowest number of visitors in Europe. But don't worry, before you conclude that this is just a sad story about a forgotten country, we'll examine the good, the bad, and the downright strange. It turns out that Moldova has a lot more going on beneath the surface than most people realize. Let's begin. Why is Moldova so unvisited? More significantly, why do people all go? Let's start with the basics. Moldova is located halfway between Romania and Ukraine, between Eastern Europe and the post-Soviet world. It is the poorest country in Europe. I understand your question. How poor are we? Imagine trying to get by each day on less than €5. In fact, according to World Bank estimates, 41% of Moldovans are currently dealing with that problem. The dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked the beginning of Moldova's issues. When Moldova was a part of the USSR, its economy was doing fairly well, largely because of its robust agricultural sector. It was the breadbasket of the Soviet Union and famous for its wine, which is still good if you ever get a chance to sample it. But when Moldova unexpectedly gained independence after the Soviet Union collapsed, chaos ensued. The transition to a free market in the economy was too rapid for Moldova's agrarian base. Okay, it broke. To exacerbate the situation, Moldova was drawn into a conflict with the separatist region of Transnistria. You know, the place that still functions as if the Soviet Union never ended. Transnistria's 1992 Declaration of Independence has not entirely healed Moldova. Think about it this way. The worst possible split occurred in Moldova. Transnistria banned Moldova on social media after taking half of the apartment's possessions out. The conflict had a negative emotional, political, and economic impact on Moldova. Furthermore, unlike most terrible breakups, there is no easy way to unfollow or move on. What is daily life like in Moldova today? If you go to the capital, Chisinau, you might be surprised at first. The city has some beautiful parks and charming old buildings, and there is a sincere effort to make it appealing to tourists, or the one visitor who comes here each year. But if you leave the main areas, things change quickly. A large portion of the country's infrastructure has not been maintained since the Soviet era. You'll see crumbling buildings, potholes big enough to swallow a compact car, and abandoned factories that once housed thousands of people. People are selling anything they can, including worn clothes, old shoes, and random cables, close to the former train station. The economy isn't exactly booming. You might wonder, well, how do people survive? In reality, it's challenging. Many people's daily incomes are insufficient to cover their expenses. According to government statistics, the average monthly salary in Moldova is €350, which isn't much, let's face it. Poverty in Moldova is now more than just a financial problem. It's about opportunity, or the lack of it. Consider being a child in Moldova. The job market is practically non-existent, even if you have finished your education and have some goals in mind. What are you doing? Most young people decide to go. Migration from Moldova is a serious issue. Since 1999, roughly 50,000 people have left the country annually. Imagine if a small city just vanished annually. To put that into perspective, professionals, young people, and entire families are escaping Moldova. And it's easy to understand why. But where are they going? The answer is a little unclear. This will depend on whether you speak Romanian or Russian. Moldova is a bilingual country with Romanian as its official language. Nonetheless, a significant portion of the population speaks Russian, especially in regions like Gagauzia and Transnistria. The secret to success for Moldovans who speak Romanian is to get a Romanian passport. If your grandparents were born between 1920 and 1940, when Moldova was a part of Romania, you are eligible to apply for Romanian citizenship. And what do you know? With the passport, you can enter the whole European Union. It is similar to Moldova's Get Out of Jail Free card. You could suddenly live and work anywhere from Italy to Germany, and most Moldovans take full advantage of that. The situation is slightly different for Russian-speaking Moldovans. They often go east to Russia, where they can work without learning a new language. Even though Russia's economy isn't exactly booming, a lot of Moldovans still think it's better than theirs. Think about this for a moment. The fact that 50,000 people depart annually in a country where the population is already dwindling is heartbreaking. The World Bank estimates that by 2050, Moldova's population could drop by an additional 20%. It's like witnessing the slow extinction of an entire country, one person at a time. Furthermore, the exodus is not just a personal one. In Chisinau, there is also a notable migration from rural to urban areas. Now that I think about it, isn't that the case everywhere? People move to the city for better jobs, right? Yes, but in Moldova, things are a little more complicated. In regions such as Gagauzia, one of the poorest provinces in Moldova, the majority of people speak Russian. Nonetheless, the most widely spoken language in Chisinau is Romanian. This language barrier makes it much harder for people to find work after moving to the capital. It's hard to find a job in New York if you only speak French. What about the open positions? They are scarce and pay little. The situation is made worse by the growing desolation in Moldova's rural areas. Whole villages are closing their schools due to a lack of students. Companies are shutting down. Fields are being left untended. In slow motion, it feels like the end of the world. Imagine growing up knowing that as more and more people leave each year, there is no one left to take care of things. What would you say? Will you continue to hold out hope that things will get better? Or would you leave, like so many others? Now let's look at some of Moldova's more urgent socioeconomic issues. First of all, the infant mortality rate in Moldova is among the highest in Europe. According to the World Health Organization, Moldovans only have an average life expectancy of 65 years for men and 73 years for women. Furthermore, the exodus of young people is contributing to Moldova's fast population decline. But it's not the only problem. Moldova also has a dark side when it comes to human trafficking and forced prostitution. Poverty forces many women into dangerous situations. An estimated 12,000 women work as prostitutes in Moldova. Many of them are trafficked to countries like Turkey, Cyprus, Italy, and Hungary, where they are exploited. Many Moldovan women have to cope with this unpleasant reality, despite the lack of conversation about it. Can you imagine being forced to leave your home, not because you want a better job, but because you have no other choice? This is the reality for thousands of women in Moldova, though it's hard to understand. So what's the answer? Is there any chance for Moldova? Regardless, many Moldovans rely on the EU. Moldova has applied to join the EU, which could bring much-needed financial support and political stability. Joining the EU isn't a cure-all, though. There's always a but. First of all, the economy of Moldova is highly unstable. Even if they do join the EU, they will still be largely dependent on European funding. In addition, corruption has long been a significant problem in Moldova. Moldova has one of the lowest rates of corruption in Europe, according to Transparency International. Furthermore, that is not acceptable to the European Union. If they are successful in joining, Moldova may follow the Baltic countries of Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. Since joining the EU, these countries have experienced both economic expansion and mass migration. Most of their young people left to work in wealthier European countries, and many have never returned. Moldova may experience a similar situation, with few citizens left to benefit from EU membership. What does Moldova stand to gain from that? Among the nation's numerous issues are social issues, such as human trafficking, rural degradation, economic instability, and mass migration. However, there is hope. If Moldova can stabilize its economy, cut corruption, and get access to the EU, it can make a difference. Will it be too late? The question is that, who will be left to improve the situation? Now I want to know what you think. If Moldova joined the EU, would it succeed? Would you ever consider visiting this little visited country in Europe to see it for yourself? Kindly leave your thoughts in the space provided for comments below. If you've stuck with me this long, why don't you enjoy the video? Maybe even subscribe to more articles like this one. Moldova may be the least visited country in Europe, but we are just starting to uncover some of the world's lesser-known secrets. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. If you found this journey through Moldova's challenges and hopes insightful, consider supporting us by liking and subscribing. Your engagement helps us continue exploring untold stories from around the world, shedding light on places and people often overlooked. Stay connected for more informative content that dives deep into history, culture, and current affairs. Together, let's discover the world's hidden corners, and perhaps even inspire your next adventure. Thank you for watching and being part of our community.